Rated M for mature.
Don't let your kids watch it!
Hey there, Artie!
Walking with only Mion to school made me miss Rena a lot. Especially when she's in the derpy OG art style. Derp! Let's do the derpy OG art style for a little bit.
どうしたのさ、ケイちゃん。
Yeah, what's wrong? I'm just not used to this.
さっきからキョロキョロしてさ。
なんでもないよ。
It was the same old path to school, but I felt nervous for some reason. I wondered what Rena meant when she said she was going to win a come from behind victory last night. I couldn't stop feeling like something dangerous was going to happen. Rena thought Mion was one of her enemies. She could be lying in wait to attack Mion with a knife.
大丈夫だって。レナがそんな短絡的なことをするわけないよ。
Rena, part of the reason Mion, part of the reason I went to the OG art style is I thought you had a gun in this art style. Oh no, she only has the gun in her casual outfit. She's not allowed to bring a gun to school.
まあ仮にそうでも自分の身くらい守れるからね。
Mion said it brightly as if trying to tell me she wasn't afraid of anything. But I couldn't be optimistic like her because I knew exactly what Rena was going through. Rena must be determined by now, and she probably wouldn't mind dying fighting against Mion if she wasn't going to win anyway. Of course, that didn't mean she was definitely going to take violent action. But I couldn't deny the possibility either.
それよりおじさんが気にかかるのはどうしてレナが急に変になっちゃったのかその
That
理
is
由の方
weird,
だね。
because it happened to Rena, and Keiichi, and Satoko, and Keiichi, and Shion, and Keiichi. How did that happen? Was there any reason? I remembered the tragedy. I couldn't remember what made the world go crazy. But I remembered we got lost in that awfully scary world. Even Keiichi remembers Chapter 1 was the creepiest one. It started with small things, and those small things continued to pile up one after another. If you thought about it calmly, you'd laugh, because it was really a stupid thing. But once those little tiny stupid things started to bother you, you couldn't ignore them. It was that kind of a disease, if you could call it one. But there must have been a reason. There must have been a reason that made the world go crazy. But it must be such a small thing that you couldn't even notice. And unfortunately, the reason was very difficult to understand, and you wouldn't be able to figure it out until you died.
親戚にお医者がいてね、ちょっと聞いてみたんだけど、脳とかに腫瘍ができて、たまたまそれが珍しいところだったりすると、性格が急に変わったり、普段と別人みたいになってしまうことがあったりするんだって。
Falling off your horse and hitting your head and being unconscious for like an hour also does that. Just ask Henry VIII.
大昔はこの病気が悪魔つきや狐つきなんて呼ばれて、
Possessed by
オカルト
foxes?
的に脚色されてたこともあるんだってさ。
Why foxes?
ってことはつまり脳という体の一部に起きた肉体的な病気ってわけか。
今回に関しては、精神的と捉えてもいいかもしれないね。
Mion's like, huh, thumbs up, Keiichi. I'm disappointed, but this is the face Mion would make if like you told either a really dirty joke or like a really bad pun that's like not actually funny but genuinely clever. So she just like has to reluctantly give you a thumbs up while not appreciating it.
レナはリナ鉄平殺しの後かなり動揺していて、心が不安定になってた時期があった。そんな時期に大石のバカタレが富武さんたちの事件を大げさに吹き込むもんだから。
Presumably they meant Kitsune. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's fair.
大石さんって人もさ、高野さんのスクラップ帳に少し似てるとこがあるかもな。
Oh, okay. Guys, I probably should not be playing Higurashi when they cry with all the lights off in the house and the windows open and it being pitch black outside, because I swear I just saw something whiz past the window and there's nothing. I don't even know why I have the curtains open anymore, because it's too dark to see if the deer are eating my trees anyways. Also, the deer shouldn't be awake at this time anyways.
へえ、どの辺が？
なんていうのかな。ひなみ沢村連続開始事件というものが存在しているというあたりについて盲信しているというか、現に5年連続で起こってるのにこんなことを言うのもなんだけど。
I first thought like, is that a deer that just whizzed past the window? Are they trying to freak me out because I freaked them out earlier? Look, you can stay in my yard. You can eat most of the plants, just not my newly planted apple trees.
俺さ、
I paid a lot of money for
連
those.
続事件なんて存在しないんじゃないかって思ってる。
There is no murder in Ba Sing Se. It was true that the mysterious incidents happened 5 years in a row, but they were each solved individually. It was the same as a past you didn't need to talk about. Be sure to check if there aren't aliens outside. There are no aliens! Aliens are not real. As I said before, aliens being real is literally the only thing that could happen in this world that would actually surprise me. We thought of them as a series of mysterious deaths, which is why we thought something was going to happen this year too. It led us to think that there was a conspiracy, and that the Sonozaki family was behind it. We connect those things to the series of mysterious deaths, but we shouldn't do that in the first place. Just like I tried to keep my distance from Rena when I found out about her dark past. Wasn't everybody trying to keep their distance from the dark past of Hinamizawa? Takano-san's scrapbooks are a good example. She dramatized both recent incidents and old cruel history. And she made feasible stories out of them, saying that the Sonozaki family was behind it all. Oishi-san did the same thing too. He was so convinced that the Sonozaki family was behind it all that it was making him interpret things the wrong way. In that sense, we could say that Oishi-san believed the same delusion as Rena.
その辺にはさ、何かあるごとに黒幕のように振る舞う園崎家の責任もあるんじゃないかな。
Yes!
この村では何かおかしなことがあれば、すべて園崎家の暗躍。それで決着をつけられてしまう魔法の言葉になっちゃってるんだよ。例えて言えばほら、この世の現象はすべてプラズマで説明できるみたいな感じだよ。
ほー。つまりそれは何を
I love her squiggle mouth here.
園崎家が全部悪いってわけ？
そうだ。お前が全部悪い。よってお前の名前は今日からプラズマミオンと呼ぶ。うわ、なんだかレスラーみたいな名前だな。
はあはあ、プロレスラー大いに結構。
Oh no, Mion's really into WWE.
そうだけじゃん。コブラツイストって知ってる？
やめろ。このクソ熱いのに絡みつくな。いててて。やー
Suplexed.
おはようございますですわ、ケイチさん。
Hi, Satoko. We gotta switch up the art style now. I can't stand Satoko in the OG art style. She's just like, that. I'm Satoko. That.
おはようなのです。
Satoko and Rika-chan looked a little sad when they saw only the two of us. If the three of us came to school together like always, they would have been really happy. But our classmates were as noisy as usual. Nobody seemed to make a big deal about Rena's absence. Chia-sensei was going to be here soon, and she'd start the morning homeroom. Everyone was fooling around as if they didn't want to miss a second of the time until then.
ねえ、今日は臭い。
You love...
窓閉めて。
Mion is your favorite character when she's not being creepy. Interesting. Mion is, I'd say, almost the most average character for me. Like, I don't really like her, but I also don't particularly dislike her. I think part of it is just the personality she always puts on I just don't particularly care for. But I do feel bad for her in a lot of senses. But I also don't feel bad for her in other senses because she's not really doing anything to change the way things are going in the Sonozaki family. Which things really, really need to change there.
バーカ。窓を閉めたらもっと暑くなるんだよ。
It smelled like gasoline or something, and it really stank. It stank! Somebody from the forestry service must have been putting gasoline into the construction equipment or something. Oh, I don't know about you, but I absolutely love the smell of gasoline. Which is bad. You should not be inhaling gasoline fumes. Some students near the windows were making a fuss because they wanted to close the windows to shut out the smell. Our school wasn't a normal school compared to the others. Oh wait, no, never mind. Rena just poured gasoline into the vents and is gonna light a throw-a-lit match in there. We were just using a part of the forestry service building. Unusual things like this happen sometimes.
いやいや、こんなの大したことないって。いつだったかな。貝塚いぶきを剪定した枝葉をトラック山盛り何台分か運び込んできたことがあってさ。
If Rena's actually planning something horrible for the school, you'd think she would have told Keiichi to not come to school tomorrow.
あれはひどかった。あの独特の刺激臭は頭痛を起こさせるよね。
貝塚いぶきって何ですの？お野菜の名前なのです。
Juniper's not a vegetable, is it?
たまにカレーに入ってますのですよ。
今度スーパーに行ったら探してみろ。
よくわかんないけど、最初はリカとケイイチさんに毒味をさせた方が良さそうでございますわね。
Satoko's a smart cookie.
あれ俺たちのボールがね王女お前がまた隠したんだろ
The boys seemed to be looking for their ball for a while, and they yelled at Satoko.
誰がそんなものを隠しますの？どうせ隠すならもう少し気の利いたものを隠しましたよ。
ほらほら先生来たよ。みんな席に着きな。はい皆さん、
Nope, time for the remake art style. Hi, girl.
席に着いてください。
Ooh la la. I kept thinking about Rena the whole time during class. I thought about what she said last night. I wonder what her come from behind victory means. Just then, the school blew up. According to Takano-san's delusion, the masterminds behind the bioterrorism were the three families and a group of fanatical believers that controlled those three. In other words, the Sonozaki family. What could Rena do alone against them? Mion lived with her grandmother, the leader of the Sonozaki family. There were only the two of them in the house. And all the servants. It was possible that Rena would try to break into their house with a knife. But I'd already come up with that possibility last night. That's why I called Mion and warned her. On the way to school this morning, Mion told me some bodyguards from the Corps had been at her house since this morning. She told me she'd be guarded herself, too. There was a black car parked near the school gate. They must have been the bodyguards. But, according to Takano's parasite theory, the battle wouldn't end just by attacking the leader of the Sonozaki family. According to the delusion she believes in, the conditions of her victory were more complicated than that. She needed to expose the group of fanatics who were behind the Sonozaki family, and she needed to destroy the research on the parasite. Plus, Rena didn't have much time left thanks to that suspicious poison she mentioned. But how exactly could she win for a come-from-behind victory under circumstances like that? She might interpret that the town council are a group of fanatics. If so, she might attack them the next time they have a meeting at the shrine. The town council meets once a month at most. It would be hard to believe that they were holding a meeting today. How has nobody been like, you know, what happened to Rena and Teppei? In Chapter 3, as soon as Teppei went missing, everyone's freaking the F out, like, oh my gosh, someone killed Teppei. Who killed Teppei? And then in Chapter 5, they're like, oh no. Anyway, actually, not even the oh no. They literally just don't notice. That seems kind of weird to me. Because at this point, they've been dead for a while. At least a couple weeks. She probably thought the place researching the parasite is the Erie Clinic. Rena suspected that there was something fishy about the clinic from the beginning, and that suspicion must have changed into certainty in her head by now. Did that mean she was going to attack the clinic? That wasn't like an action movie. What could she do all by herself? Was she going to start a fire? No, that would be pointless. In order to expose the conspiracy, she'd have to get proof that they were actually studying the parasite. Was she going to break into the clinic and get questionable weird samples? The last problem of all was how much time she had left. If she believed she didn't have much time left, especially under desperate, disadvantageous conditions, she might try to stab whoever she thought of as an enemy. But Rena sounded like she really believed she would regain her happy and peaceful days after everything was over. Rena probably meant she was going to stay alive and win. Was there something like an antidote? It didn't have to be real. As long as it was an antidote to Rena's delusion, it didn't matter what it was. It could even be the water you washed your vegetables with. But if she thought it was she could get the antidote so easily, she wouldn't have been so desperate about the time she has left. The antidote must be difficult for her to get. The easiest place for that, in her delusion, was that it was hidden somewhere in the clinic. Putting it all together like that, I felt like Erie and his clinic were in danger. Now that I thought about it, the elderly people in the village, including members of the town council, hung out in the waiting room of the clinic all the time. Just like for funsies or because they frequently have checkups. If most of the board members happened to gather there, for her, it'd be the perfect place to attack. I told Mion about that during the lunch break.
普段ならそんなバカなって言いたいところだけど、その可能性を全く否定できなくもないからね。本家に電話してみるよ。診療所にも人を配置するように言っとく。
Mion didn't object to my crazy idea. She put down her chopsticks and went to the teacher's office to make a phone call.
先ほどからなんだか物騒な話でございますけど、本当にレナさんがそんな恐ろしいことをなさいますの？ 診療所を襲うなんて信じられませんわ。
By the way, I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned this before, Satoko, but props to you for knowing how to tie a tie.
するかもしれない。しないかもしれない。でもな、怒っちまったらおしまいなんだよ。惨劇に抗うってことは、起こさないように戦うってことなんだから。
何事もないことを祈りたいのです。
わかりました。若いのを2人ほど診療所に送ります。
まさかとは思うけどね。何をやらかすか分かったもんじゃない。
姿を見たら直ちに引っ取られてしまって構いませんか？
Try not to shoot her.
本当は嫌なんだけどな。どうしようね。
先日の会合で竜宮レナを確保して警察に引き渡すことで決着しています。ですので引っ取られても一応筋は通ります。
Rena, I really hope that you don't like make homemade bombs and strap them to yourself in like a suicide bomber kind of thing.
うちの対面じゃなくて、レナの心情的に気の毒だなって。
I don't know if Rena would be able to make homemade bombs overnight, but there's a lot of stuff in the garbage dump. Maybe she found the materials.
できたら本当に静かに決着したいんだけどね。
Don't think that's gonna happen, Mion. It's the last part of the chapter.
まあお若いですから、人さえ殺さなければ大抵はごめんなさいで済みますよ。
Yeah, as long as she didn't kill someone.
じゃあアウトかもだ。
いえいえ、見つからなければセ
Oh
ーフですから。
wow, Kasai just knows.
セーフ。沖宮の界隈ではあの二人の失踪を気にする者はい
Kasai's
ま
like,
せん。
yeah, I don't. This is what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure if she had asked Kasai to like intimidate the two or like keep them off her, he probably would have been like, yeah, okay. She just like went to murder real quickly.
何かのヤバい話を踏んで夜逃げしたんだろうということになっています。
But and again, I don't blame Rena for killing Rena because Rena literally tried to kill Rena first. The Tepe murder's a little harder to explain away, but he was a colossal crud butt, so I'm okay with it.
あの程度のゴロつき、次から次へです。
I don't condone it, but I also am not necessarily going to condemn it.
ですからセーフ。
アウトだのセーフだの。私ら野球拳でもやってるわけ？まあいいや。それじゃあくれぐれもよろしくお願いします。
了解しました。では引っ取られてよろしいですね。
So we can capture her by force, okay?
ちゃんとタッチアウトにするんだよ。クロスプレーなんかにしないようによろしく頼みます。
I couldn't help but have a silly chat with Kasai. I don't always yawn, but when I do, I'm always streaming a visual novel. When I put the phone down, I sensed Chia-sensei was looking at me. No wonder, as she'd been able to hear the conversation clearly in this tiny room. Chia-sensei put her spoon down, and with a sad look on her face, she asked me the following.
今の電話は竜宮さんをめぐる話ですか？
Don't worry about it.
まあ、はい。園崎さん、竜宮さんはどうして家出をしちゃったんでしょう？お友達として何か知ってはいませんか？
Actually, now that I think about it, Teacher looks kind of like an older version of Rena, just with blue hair. They have fairly similar hairstyles, pretty similar face shapes, and I think the exact same color eyes too. It was hard for anyone to understand Rena's situation, except for me and Kei-chan. So most of them thought Rena had just ran away from home. But after she did, the cops made too much of a fuss over it. Luisi stupidly believed that the scrapbooks were a big scoop, and he overreacted in trying to find Rena. He had patrol cars running around everywhere in the village. He even used the town council's phone directory to find her. So people in the village thought Rena did something wrong and was trying to run from the cops. What was going to be difficult for me, more than finding her, was to make up a story to retrieve Rena's honor after they detain her. What about this? Rena went for a walk, fell down and hit her head on the edge of some tofu and lost her memory. Luisi misunderstood something big time, and he thought she was a criminal. It was too easy. Anyway, you think that was easy? You think that's a good excuse? She hit her head on tofu? Not a rock? Anyway, we did make it clear that Uisi was the one who misunderstood everything at the meeting the other day. I had to make the best use of his name while he was feeling down for once. What I'd have to do was to not make a big deal about this situation, and to create an environment that allowed Rena to forget everything that happened, in order to get her life back together as soon as possible.
大丈夫ですよ、先生。レナは今ちょっと病気になってるだけです。 それを警察の某ベテラン刑事が素敵に勘違いして
Fat cop.
話をややこしく
I
した
wonder who
だ
that
け
could
です。
be. Not
まさか
Akasaka.
先生、レナが悪いことをして逃走中なんて信じちゃいないですよね。
それはもちろんですけど、でも家出することによってご家族におかけしている迷惑を考えれば悪くないということはありません。
She had a fight with her father, and she ran away from home for a little while. She acted childish, and that's all. Maybe that'd be the best story to go with.
何か悩みがあったのでしょうか。それに気づけなかった私は今日一度竜宮さんとじっくりお話がしたかったです。
She's just the best! She's smart, beautiful, and kind-hearted. Why can't I find me a Chia Sensei in real life?
先生、ちょっとヘビーに考えすぎです。もうちょっとリラックスリラックス。プチ家出なんて今時珍しくないですって。
竜宮さんがこのまま不良になってしまって悪いことを始めたらどうしましょう。
Rena, maybe hold off on buying that motorcycle you were thinking about. Uh-oh. No, don't cry, Genuine. Ryuga-san becomes a bad kid. She does something bad and gets arrested by the police. It's her teacher's responsibility. I'll be dishonorably discharged. I can't eat curry anymore. I'm dead. Is that the only inner monologue we're gonna get of teacher? That's hilarious. Chia Sensei seemed to be comically upset by her own imagination. It looked funny, so I decided to leave her alone. I made to leave the teacher's office to go back to the classroom, but right then the phone rang.
はい、もしもし、ひなみ沢文庫でございます。
Chia Sensei had to answer the phone all day today because the principal was on a business trip. Yeah, I'm just gonna go skiing in Utah. Just, you know, real casual. That's at the other end of the... I exited the hallway. Then I heard the tone of her voice change.
今どこにいるんですか？
What? I yelled and looked back at her. It was probably Rena. She called the school! I tried to go back to the teacher's office, but Chia Sensei gestured at me to not come in. Chia Sensei acknowledged what Rena was saying several times, and then she looked up at the clock.
わかりました。今からすぐ行きます。先生との約束ですよ。
She said only that, put the phone down, and got her purse out of her locker.
院長、先生は休養ができました。
Oh no! No!
しばらく表へ出ますので、みんなを自習させてください。
It's a trap! Rena's getting the teacher out of there. Principal's out of the time. There's no adults here. This is the perfect time for Rena to be like, alright! I pumped the gasoline in the vents! Time to light it on fire! She took her car key out from her purse. It was obvious she was going to see Rena somewhere.
先生、今の電話はレナ。
以上です。
Oh,
よろしく頼みますよ、院長。
that was a little frightening, teacher. Chia Sensei completely ignored me and she ran out into the hallway. She ran to the schoolyard and got into her car. She drives a Lexus? The moment her car left through the gate, I ran to the schoolyard myself. Was that Rena's way of saying, teacher, I always liked you? If there was one person I would pull out of the school so they wouldn't get hurt, it would be teacher. Maybe that says something about me, though. I headed for the black car parked near the gate and knocked on the window.
お疲れ様です。
Hey, gangster!
今のところ異常ありません。
あー、違う。今出て行った先生の車を追って。
No! Keep him at the school to protect the kids!
多分、行く先にレナがいる。
了解っす。
レナは警戒心が強いから注意してね。捕まえたら有無を言わさずに本家放り込んで、葛西の指示に従うこと。私の友人だよ。怪我なんかさせたら許さないからね。
Rena must have told Chia Sensei that she wanted to talk to her alone. I can tell that easily from the way she ignored my question. Why do I keep needing to yawn? I hate it. I did feel a little bad for ruining their promise. But it was very important that we caught her before she did something wrong. We could still make up an excuse that she was just wandering around because she had a fight with her father and ran away from home. But if she set fire to the clinic or something, there would be nothing I could do. A car made a rough U-turn on the gravel road, and it chased after Chia Sensei's car at full speed. I watched the car until it was gone. All I could do now was pray that this would be settled calmly.
みんな午後の授業は自習になったよ。というわけで、おとなしく席について何かやること。
自習
Mion ran up to me and spoke quietly.
レナから電話があった。
え、本当か？
うん。ついさっき職員室に電話が。千恵先生が指定された場所に会いに行ったみたい。
Are the gardeners still here?
レナのやつ、一体どういうつもりなんだ？
They just left the school full of unsupervised kids.
わかんない。とにかく、うちの車に先生の後を追わせてる。
Can you call some new bodyguards to the school?
レナには悪いけど、そこで踏んづかまえる。
うまくいくといいな。
Rena's
荒
playing,
事には
y'all.
慣れてる連中だよ。任せとこう。
じゃあ捕まえれば一件落着なのか？
だね。そしたらとりあえず病院に放り込むよ。きっと専門の医者が見たら、なんだってくらいに典型的な何かの病気だよきっと。
He'll find something.
強迫性、心因性、ストレスなんたらとか、多分そんな感じのやつ。
While we were spending our afternoon playing, we weren't playing, we were studying peacefully. The members of the Sonozaki family would capture Rena, who was waiting for Chia-sensei somewhere. The problem would be solved. It wasn't going to be easy after that, but I was sure Mion would take good care of her. And in the end, everyone would understand that Rena just ran away from home because of a silly fight with her father. A happy ending.
一件落着でしょ。
Mion winked at me. She looked like she already thought of everything was over. But that just didn't sound right to me. I couldn't see any connection between Rena and Chia-sensei. It was hard to explain, but there was something wrong. I wasn't saying that they didn't get along. Rena was a good student, so Chia-sensei had a good relationship with her. But I just didn't understand what Rena wanted from Chia-sensei. While I was thinking about it, the door opened, and one of our classmates came back from the bathroom. Oh, with Rena! There she is! Happy birthday! Happy birthday! You'll never guess what I brought. I brought the knife to cut the cake. Oh, okay. Oh, that one's she just looks very happy to be there with her hatchet. Oh, baby! Oh, this one's the coolest. By far. Oh, yeah. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Let's go. It's my birthday.
レナ！
みんな起立起立。
Uh-oh, she's frowny now. All right, everybody. All right, everybody. Party's over. Rena's here. Well, but why are you attacking the school? How is this going to help you out? I don't understand.
教室の真ん中に集まって。
Everybody gasped in surprise. Even she since I couldn't make everybody go so quiet all of a sudden. Rena was gripping the shoulder of the student who came back from the bathroom. In her other hand, she had a big, scary-looking hatchet. It was the same one she had the other night. Oh no, it's the insane music popping up. Everyone immediately understood that Rena had taken a hostage.
みんな、聞こえ
Uh-oh.
てない？
Nah, sorry. We're going to this art style.
教室の真ん中に集まって。
Actually, you know what? No, we'll keep this. The pose here is just too good.
机は周りにどけちゃってね。
Nobody grasped what she was asking us to do. We all froze. Rena was the only one who was smiling, and it was terrifying, but she's not smiling here.
兄ちゃん、委員長でしょ？みんなに指示して。
レナ、あんた何をやってんの？
Bam! Bro! They are giving her new sprites, and it's amazing! Console has the most new sprites, though. Rena hit the teacher's desk really hard with her hatchet. She pulled out the hatchet, making an ominous ripping noise. There was now a line of violence carved plainly into the desk. Uh-oh. She broke it. Chia-sensei's gonna get mad when she comes back. No, that wasn't it. What the hell?
みーちゃんはやっぱりダメだね。じゃあケイチくんに頼むよ。ケイチくんだけは最後まで私の仲間なんだよね。だから信じていいんだよね。
You're really doing this, Rena? Rena, your eyes. You look so scary. I've never seen eyes like that in my life. Your eyes are so full of insanity. Why are people afraid of insanity? Insanity means the person doesn't share the same values or the same common sense as us. For example, say a thief breaks into your house and he ties you up. You'll get scared and wonder if he's going to stab you before he leaves. But you hope that the thief has feelings too, and that he's not going to kill you for no reason. No matter how bad the person is, We tend to believe in his goodwill as long as we share the same values, the same common sense, and the same morals as him. But we can't expect goodwill from somebody who doesn't have those things. We can't expect goodwill from a person who can't communicate with us. When a burglar has a knife and you beg him not to hurt you, you expect him to listen to you and show you mercy. In other words, you can still communicate with him. But if he doesn't have the ability to communicate, he's just like a monster that's trying to attack you. Or like the blade of a guillotine that's falling down on you. You fear him because you can't communicate with him. That's insanity. It was the same fear we were feeling towards Rena at the very moment. She looked like a human just like us, but there was no room for her to communicate with us like a normal person could do. Everybody understood that fear instinctively.
ケイチ君、机をどけさせて教室の真ん中に広場を作って。
Rena, why are you attacking the school?
わかった。みんな、レナが言うのに従おう。
Rena was like a barrel of gunpowder at that moment. She seems really calm and quiet, but she could explode any minute. When she did, I doubt she'd show us any mercy. She probably wouldn't hesitate to use that hatchet on us. That's right. Just like how I didn't feel guilty or hesitate to kill Rena or Mion. Everybody went all quiet while pushing the desks against the wall to make a space where Rena wanted it. Rena, saying that we're moving too slow, hit the blackboard of the hatchet, making a horrible noise. Every time she did that, she left an equally horrible scar on the blackboard. The thing we looked at most in the school.
じゃあケイチ君、みんなのロッカーから縄跳びを出してもらえるかな。それを使ってみんなを後ろ手で縛ってね。
Rena.
俺、縛るのとか下手くそなんだよ。多分上手に縛れないぞ。
後でちゃんと縛れているか全員のを調べる。
Alright.
ゆるい人はその場で殺しちゃうから。
Run!
しっかり縛ってあげてね。
Alright! Alright! We got the creepy Rena from Chapter 1 back now. Different kind of creepy, but alright, let's go. We were still kids. We saw the word kill all the time. It was used a lot in comic books and cartoons after all. So normally you'd assume we'd be used to hearing the word kill. But when Rena said she'd kill us, it sounded so frightening. I'd never heard something like that before in my life. To Rena, our lives were like cards she could use for negotiation. She'd get rid of one card every time somebody refused her request. Get rid of? Damn it! Why did we use such scary words like get rid of for simple things like playing cards? Anyway, there were about 20 students in the class. That was a little bit too many for Rena to handle. She might get rid of one or two just to set an example. I decided to do what Rena said because I didn't want her to lose her temper. I got out everybody's jump ropes from their lockers.
じゃあみんな床にうつ伏せになってね。ケイチ君は後ろ手にどんどん縛っていって。きっちり縛るんだよ。ケイチ君は私の味方だもん。
This is a different kind of terrifying, but I like it.
わざと緩くなん
From
か
a
縛ったり
storytelling
しない。
perspective.
ね。
Mion tried to make eye contact with me. If everybody was tied down, we wouldn't be able to stop her from occupying the school. There were more than 20 students in this class. Half of them were boys, but most of them were smaller than Rena. But there were enough people here to overpower her. But if we did that, Rena would probably hit her hostage with the hatchet. And she'd use the hatchet to attack the rest of us without hesitation. It'd be a bloody battle. Yeah, these are kids. Rena, if you kill a child, you're going down the tier list a lot. A lot. I'm sure somebody would get hurt if we tried to overpower her. The hostage would be seriously injured, or maybe even die. If that happened, it was over. No matter how hard we tried to cover up, she'd never be able to live peacefully like before. Mion seemed to understand that too. I could tell from Rena's eyes that she wasn't going to go easy on us. If somebody showed defiance, she'd break the hostage's head open immediately. Of course, Rena had done that before. She'd probably do it again with no hesitation. But, as long as we did what she said, we could prevent the bloody tragedy. If we could somehow solve this situation without shedding any blood, with Mion's influence, we might still be able to pretend that this never happened. At the very least, we had to make sure she didn't kill anyone.
従おう。ケイちゃん。
Mion tried to think of ways to overpower Rena, but she couldn't come up with any good ideas to save the hostage. That's how easy it would be for Rena to kill them. The best thing to do at that time was to wait for a chance without agitating her fervor. Mion lay down on the floor and everyone else followed suit, sluggish with terror. And I was left alone, standing rooted to the spot with the jump ropes in my hands. All of my classmates were lying face down on the floor while Rena was pointing the hatchet at the hostage, watching our every move from behind the teacher's desk. I just stood frozen in the middle of it all.
ケイイチ君にはまだまだ手伝ってもらうことがたくさんあるの。だから早くして。あんまり時間がかかると何人かが死んでしまうかもしれない。
Some of the little kids started crying when they heard the word die.
大丈夫だよみんな。ケイイチ君がきっと助けてくれるから。だからきっと。だ。
Uh-oh. Yikes. Damn it. What a bold threat. She said I was her friend, but she was just playing with the meaning of the word. I was the last person who could still fight against Rena under these circumstances, but it wasn't going to be easy to overpower her by myself. I wasn't sure if I could do that. Even if I tried to act tough, once Rena pointed the hatchet at somebody's neck, it was over. I shouldn't fight against her for now. I should just wait for a chance. Here's the thing, even if you do get out of this nobody dead, you really think Rena is getting away with this? You really think Rena's just gonna be allowed back to be a student in this class? Nah, not happening. We've crossed the line. I should just wait for a chance. That's probably where we had another decision we could have made. As long as Rena was alone, there would be a chance. She made me tie them up because she couldn't do that by herself. There was a limit to what she could do because she was by herself. If we could cover this up somehow before Chi-sensei came back, we'd still be able to pretend that like we were kidding around. I finally realized something. I realized why Rena called Chi-sensei to meet with her. In order for Rena to take over the classroom, she needed to get rid of Chi-sensei. Chi-sensei had a very strong sense of justice. Even if Rena had a gun, she wouldn't hesitate to overpower her. She was the kind of teacher who would risk her life for her students. Rena needed to figure out how to get rid of Chi-sensei. That was the key to her plan. Rena probably thought about attacking her from behind at first, but there was risk there, as Chi-sensei was a grown-up woman, so she probably thought that attacking her directly wasn't a wise choice. So naturally, the next best option was to lure her out somewhere. Rena called Chi-sensei and told her she wanted to talk to her in private, in order to lure her out to someplace far from there. Most people, including Chi-sensei, thought Rena was just running away from home. So Chi-sensei must have thought Rena had some problems she wanted to talk to her about. It was too easy to deceive her. Where did she make the phone call from? She probably used the phone in the school. Well, not in the school, to be exact. She probably used the phone on the second floor of the school, the one belonging to the forestry service. No one heard her through the ceiling. Thank goodness for her. The school was being using the part of the forestry service building, but this particular location was more of a branch office. So it's not like somebody was here all the time. Rena knew that, and she probably had been hiding there for a while. She called the phone on the first floor from the second floor, and she made Chi-sensei leave the school. I didn't think it was a coincidence that the principal was going on a business trip today. She probably snuck into the school yesterday. She saw the principal's schedule, learned how to call the phone on the first floor from the second, and carried out her plan. She planned it perfectly. Yeah, I knew it. Rena was insane, but I knew she was also actually really calm. She was possessed by her delusion, but she was also unbelievably calm about it. So, she could still think fast. I knew that very well because I'd been through the same thing before. What was worse is that Mion's bodyguards were gone. Mion told them to follow Chi-sensei because she thought Chi-sensei was going to meet with Rena. Damn it! Everything seemed to be working out in her favor.
縛ったぞ。
I tied up the last person and I looked in Rena's direction. If I didn't tie them up really tightly, Rena would kill them. But when I tied them too tightly, they suffered in pain. Their pained cries made me feel useless.
ありがとう、ケイイチ君。ケイイチ君を疑りはしないけど、一応全員を調べるね。ケイイチ君は頭の上で手を組んでうつ伏せに寝ててね。これは全員に言うけど、私の断りなく立ち上がったら殺す。
Alright! Crazy Eyes Rena is back. Oh, farts. That's not the face that you want to see. Oof.
本人も殺すし、見せしめでランダムにもう一人殺す。
ランダムじゃよくないね。
Why are you there?
じゃあこうしよう。言うことを聞かなかったこと、出席番号に10を加えたことを
Okay,
殺す
Rena.
にしようかな。
That's just insane, even in your own delusions.
例えば、 岡村くんが言うことを聞かなかったとする。そうすると出席番号11番渡辺くんが一緒に殺されちゃう。わかる？常に2人死ぬの。歯向かっても自分の命一つじゃ責任が取れないってこと。よーく
Alright.
胸に刻んでおくんだよ。
Rena, you're insane. How awful. She totally understood how to threaten people. Normally, you stand against an attacker at your own risk. If you fail, you're going to die. But if you were responsible for someone else, then you wouldn't try to resist. You can't risk somebody's life with your own decisions.
全員ちゃんと縛れてるね。圭一くん、縛るの下手くそって言ってたけど結構うまいよ。自信持っていいよ。じゃあ圭一くんは立って。
It was too late to fight back. I followed her orders. I just had to wait for a chance. The OG sprite Rena just looks offended. You called them a racial slur? Wait. Oh wait, it's probably not the way anymore, but yeah. The art styles are a bit different. I had to do something. Anyway, what were you planning to do, Rena? Don't tell me this is the come from behind victory you were talking about. Yeah, well, this is perfectly normal and reasonable.